What I like to do is to spend the next 30 to 35 minutes looking at sustainability as the next frontier of innovation. I do not come from a background in sustainable development, but I come from a background in strategy and competition. So I want to give a different twist to the sustainability debate, that if you really deeply understand what the sustainability issues are, probably there is an opportunity to differentiate yourself and compete very differently. So when you look at the sustainability agenda, I think there are two sides to it. Most of the discussion that happens in the West, certainly in the United States, and a lot of it in Europe, is all about reducing the carbon footprint of the developed world and the developed markets. We sometimes tend to forget that the overall health of the planet cannot be improved unless we understand how engaging 5 billion new people as consumers and producers is also going to impact the environment. So there are two sides to this debate. One side is emerging markets, 5 billion new consumers who live on very little. I'll come back to look at what the implications of that are. On the other side of it is you and me living in developed countries and how to reduce our footprint. So I think what I'm going to spend therefore time on is not whether the developed countries are right, we should go unilaterally, or emerging markets should do something different, but asking the question, how do you allow for inclusive growth of all of humanity, and there can be a creative reconciliation? Is there just a different way of thinking about sustainable development that allows for poor countries to emerge and commercialize and industrialize, and at the same time, rich countries to pay more attention to being green? And I want you to see what has happened to global fisheries. You have a timeline. You can see the number of years, 1967 to 68. If you go back and look at the last 30 years, almost all fisheries are depleted, not just one of them, all of them. So there is a significant problem here, whether it is urbanization and poverty, whether it's population growth, water and waste disposal, pollution and fossil fuels, deforestation and ecosystems, or global warming. It does not make any difference which one you pick. There is a significant impact. As already mentioned, we as consumers are quite sensitive to this. The problem I think we need to ask ourselves is, how do you deal with all these complex changes if you do not fundamentally innovate? Sustainability is not an option, but you cannot deal with it without significantly discussing how do we innovate, what is the process of innovation. So the question, therefore, is, if the consumer, as we saw, is already changing, can corporate strategy lag behind consumer expectations? What happens if my company is not even keeping pace with the expectations of my consumers? Am I going to lose out longer term? So to me, sustainability is not any longer an option. You have to at least be ahead of consumers. That would be nice. At least you should be at par with what the consumer expectations are. So I thought it might be a fun thing to look at energy for the poor as one case study.
These women represent just a tiny fraction of the estimated 3.6 billion people around the world who do not have access to clean, safe and affordable energy. By 2020, it aims to provide cleaner, safer and affordable energy solutions to over 20 million households in the world's emerging consumer markets. And to do all that with businesses that are sustainable and profitable.